Three interesting Sheilos that came up lately. One question is, someone called me, he has his children, young children, and now the whole story with the measles, but his wife is very nervous, she doesn't want to do the vaccination for the children. Now the state of New York is really cracking down on this measles vaccination.
Yeah, sure.
Now what's happening in the frum, in the frum little bubble is the story with the wine and the water and the king. But the king said everyone has to fill up the barrel with a cup of wine. So one chacham said he's going to put water. It worked for a while. Then the Chava found out a whole barrel of wine. If you just put 1 cup of water, over time, what happened is the barrel, instead of being wine, ended up being a barrel of water. So at first there was a few women that said, "Oh, it's so dangerous," and that, so they didn't vaccinate their children. Everyone else is vaccinated, but their child is not. Okay, nicht gefährlich.
When was it? What era?
Well, this is happening now. Yeah,
they haven't heard.
Is telling her friend that it's dangerous to vaccinate, and there's some freak story, 1 in a million, that this or that happens. So every yenta says her children are not going to be vaccinated. But all the other ones will, so everyone is going to be safe. But you know what? Enough yentas hopped onto this kunst, and now there's a measles outbreak in Israel, and you hear on the radio in Rockland County.
Was brought from Israel.
Yeah, brought it from Israel. But if they would all be vaccinated, there wouldn't be this problem. But every yenta and her friend says, "Not my child," because there's a risk. But the problem is, there's a bigger risk when it turns out that, besides the Chilul Hashem, but it turns out that that the huge portion of the Frum community is not vaccinated. Okay, so from the way I'm asking the Shaila, you probably know what I'm going to say in the answer. So, but at least
It's good to know the back and forth.
now,
They're like roasted.
so
If you put it online, you'll get a lot of responses.
Will be outlined.
it is online. So.
Hashtag it. No, I mean like a COL.
Look, I'll tell you what. In this, it's a very sensitive thing. I figured I have to find the Rebbe's shit. It helped the Abish. There's a beautiful kovetz, Oris of Yunim. Comes out bi-weekly from Olay Torah. I send in a lot of times articles. And there's one of the people that write here often is Rab Baruch Oberlander. No, shut up. He is head shliach in Budapest, for sure. A terrific Tam Chochem, I told you about him. He writes often, and he wrote a beautiful article going through the Rebbe's shit on it. So something like this, you say a pilpul, this way, that way. For us, we want to know what's the Rebbe's opinion. So he did a terrific job in he going through. So basically, the Rebbe was asked. I mean, mamish, a few weeks after the vaccination was approved in April '55. So it was a Jewish doctor that did testing. And he vaccinated over 1 million children. Then it was certified as against polio. I'm starting with polio, and we're soon going to get to measles. The reason I'm getting to polio first is because we have a long and rich history of tshuvas from the Rebbe about vaccination on polio. And what Rabbi Oberland is trying to do is to show you a pattern in the Rebbe's way of thinking. So he brings here 7 tshuvas from the Rebbe, starting within the month of polio vaccination being approved. And so for example, the first tshuva from the Rebbe is B'mayna machtovoi me'erev Shabbos kodesh boi shoyer loides hazrikas einspritzung shoysen ateli lodem ech yinag, what to do. B'kegon do nemer al tifrish min hatzibur v'yine kemo shoysen meroi v'akita. Do like the most of the kids. Okay. Then there's another letter. 15 days late. Half a year later.
Why is this the question of Poland?
I'm starting with polio. I'm starting with polio.
What is it, Poland?
Oh, I'm starting with polio because here there's a long history of how the Rebbe's attitude, and we'll get to the Rebbe's thing about measles.
Oh, there's something about measles.
Yeah. So then there is a little more than a half year later, Tezvav Tevis Tavshin Tezayin, to Rabbi Tzvi Schusterman in Chicago. The Masha Kosov Oides Selak vaccine Dr. Jonah, he was a Jewish doctor who invented this. Salk, I'm sorry, Salk. Dr. Jonah Salk.
Song. That's a.
בכלל דייטי נויטה להשתמש בזה, אלא שאין לי אז פוידש מן הציבור. Okay. Next letter, number 3, which is Chov Dalet Cheshem Tavshin Yud Zayin. Jumping a little bit. So it's a long answer that the Rebbe asked, the person asked, is a Bechlal Mutter to give a vaccination? Because there's no Machla Bechlal here. So who gives you permission? There's always a little bit of a risk. So the Rebbe says, first of all, Maisa B'chol Yom Gedol Yisrael did so. Look in Hilchas Deis La Rambam Perek Dalet about preventive medicine. B'chlal it's a posuk b'feidish kol ha'machla lo yosem alecha ki ani Hashem roifecha. Hastes that there is in your refuah in a way of loim. And the Rebbe says it's a b'feidish hashas. All of a shas, there's a concept of bloodletting. That wasn't for people that were sick. There were people that were 100% healthy. They believed that bloodletting would prevent diseases. So b'meila, the Rebbe said, now, then again, this thing, and then it's not interesting. A person asked if you can vaccinations that have non-kosher products. The Rebbe says the bottom line is that the Maisa B'chol Yom that fruma people use it, and you're allowed to be anen from Dvar Masur and Bachila, so it's not a problem. Then about this vaccination, the Rebbe says that that's the no kvar bazeh kama v'kama chadoshim v'gam b'chugim achik charedim shein kan shayla b'negei lakashus and whatever the Rebbe. Next letter. Dalet base tavis tavshin yud zayin.
Excuse me, is that the same for all medicines?
No, we're talking now just about vaccination. I'm not going. You know what? Let's go into the here. First paragraph. The Rebbe's shita. So I'm just quoting the choice words from each one of the letters. Second one, ainli is poirish min atzibur. Nasa zali de rubim kulam batzlochem alchein nachayin asin azu. Then nisilam bechiyuv kimin shekvar oisin zarubim kulam batzlochem. Ainli is yotzem aklal bazeh. As the letters, so there's two things that the kids said. That then there's a finally Tavshin Yud Zayin. There's a letter from the Rebbe. The Rebbe says there's a line of letters that I have to answer, but this letter about the polio vaccine is skipping the entire line. It's a pella that you're even asking this question. I already answered b'chiyuv that every bikulan doing about tzlocha. Just make sure that the vaccination comes from a company that is reliable. Okay. So the kid said Rabbi Oberlander goes through 7 letters from the Rebbe about this, and he notices two things that are happening. First, the Rebbe is like, Al tifresh min hatzibur, if everyone's doing it, do whatever most of the kids are doing in the class. But as the time is going on, the Rebbe is being more emphatic about that you need to do this. So, number one, the Rebbe is getting more emphatic about it, and number two, that the Rebbe is saying, Gerubim Kukulam are doing it. What's Negea what Roiv do or what Roiv don't do? Is it safe or not safe? What's Negea what Roiv does? So now, before we continue with measles, it just came out in one of these, they have Terichasnas and they give out these. So when they came out with the shot against the vaccination against measles, so the Meir Afson wrote a letter to the Rebbe, and it was Tishrei Tavshach Dalet, which is a couple of months after.
They had a big family,
Right. So he asked the Rebbe. The Rebbe wrote to him, "Yasa k'fi anog be'iroi." Do whatever is nog in your city. Ask her what's in. He lived in Detroit then, yeah. So the kid said. So says Rabbi Oberlander, he has 2 observations. Number one, the Rebbe gets more and more emphatic about it. Right when it comes out, the Rebbe says, well, do Roiv Akita, and then he gets more emphatic about endorsing it. And number 2, the Rebbe keeps on saying that's totally in the Roiv. What's in the Geya and what the Roiv do? So I'm going to tell you what the Rabbi Oberlander's Lomdus is, and I think it's very nice. Look into here in the second paragraph, 3rd paragraph. Issa begemora Yevamis. Tani the Bibi Kamed Reb Nachman Sholosh Noshim Shamsas B'Moich. There's 3 women that are allowed to use a moich. A moich is that they put, not like what we think about a moich today. It's a form of birth control. And I don't want to get into sugi birth control today, although we should cover the Mitzvah Shem. There's a common shaila people ask. I just want to bring a raya from this sugi to what we're dealing with. So, again, Tony Navi B'Kamei Dereb Nachman, Sholosh Noshim Shamsas B'Moich. The women were allowed to use a moich. Those days they didn't have fancy stuff to have. birth control, so they would take a little bit of cotton and they put it b'oisei mokum. So instead of the zera going into the rechem, then it would be absorbed by the cotton.
Like diaphragm.
Not, like a diaphragm, but less fancy than a diaphragm. So, Ktana Muberes Umanike. These three women, because it's dangerous for them to get pregnant. Ktana Shem Tasaba B'Shem Thomas. It's dangerous for her to become pregnant. Muberes Shem Tasover Sabo. It's dangerous for the woman. Menike Shem Tik Mobana V'Yamas. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Chomem Achazum B'Shamshis Kedarka V'Helchas Min HaShamayim Yirachim V'Shashanam Hashem V'Pasayim Hashem. Chomem disagree. Chomem say that these women usually don't get pregnant. A woman that's nursing or pregnant doesn't get pregnant. Tana doesn't, so it's not negay. So it's beer. Tzemach Tzedek explains. Yesh loy ma'atam. Mishum shekein somehow body is brought up with teva yesh. Gimel nosham anal al pi reiv enim esabris. Umasher koshem min hashemayim yirachim v'shenem v'shenem v'sayim Hashem. What do you mean Mishamayim yirachim? I'm scared for my wife. The answer is Hainu Shalo Yikorakein Afilo Tzad HaMiyut. The Eibishter will protect even the Miyut. But be Yisha Sharui Elisaber. Go and Sheina Mishalish Noshim. Okay, and I'll be rest the Saber. Because I'm in the Gemara Peribasa Divamas. And my Allah Chachorei Berev Noshim Saber is very old. But he may be a little Shash God Elisha Zu. Bad the Bekagab Nabayda Chacham Leremeh. The Motoris Lasham Chacham Bemoich Veloy Shaykh. Az Alismach Lechatchila Psoim Hashem Davrin and also Lismach Lanes. So the bottom line is we see in medicine that there's a concept that we rely on the roiv. Because roiv women are safe, roiv noshim mubaras don't have to use birth control because the Eibishter made already in the mechanism of her body that she's not going to become pregnant.
She is pregnant.
Because she's already pregnant. It could be echad mini olive. No, it could be. There is, I guess. I don't know if we know today that there is. Apparently, the Gemara believed that it's shayach such a thing. It's not negated to us if that's really true today medically. If it's shayach, could be a change. But in the Gemara's view, it was remotely possible. But the Gemara says, since apir roiv, it's not going to happen. You don't have to be worried about it. So Tzedek says because the Eibishter will protect you. Now that you've been
for the miyut.
Even for the miyut. So that's what he's saying. That the Rebbe is saying in the letters, it's been approved as a safe vaccination. Roiv Jewish children in the schools are using it. So don't have to be an oiba chochem and be choishish more. You have to try to. There is preventive medicine, like we see Bizman Hashas, called Machla Lozim Alecha. Polio Rachmon Litzlan is a very debilitating machla. And therefore the Rebbe said you should do the vaccination. And Lepella, the question. And the same thing is saying is Lagabi, the measles, which is we see that the first, right when it was approved, that the first thing the Rebbe said, Yasa Kefi Anog Be'ira. And so he's saying that probably, if you probably find other tshuvas from the Rebbe going forward, it would probably be the same as with polio, that once it becomes an accepted thing, that not only you're allowed to do it, but that's what you should do. That's what you should do.
We also if there's a possibility that there's a suffix that she could get, a suffix movis. So you have to be machmir.
Right, and still we see that Tzemach Tzedek says that since women are safe.
But over there, if she got pregnant again, it's just because they're worried she's weak. She's not deadly. She's not. It's not as like that she's gonna die if she gets pregnant.
By
polio, it's a sakolas movis.
Right. So it's even more.
Much worse.
Right. So I'm saying it. You see.
Maybe chicken
Right.
No,
but they claim that
he's being sort of on the chacham and say it's not a.
No, he's saying that the chacham is saying that these women don't have to use birth control. They can rely on that they're not going to get pregnant.
But polio is different.
No, it's the same thing that you see. Roy people are taking it and it's safe.
Well, that's the solution.
Yeah. I'm saying Roy people are taking it and it's safe. Roy people are taking it and it's safe.
Right.
Even the people that claim a miyuta echad mini elef alafim, and we don't know if these things are true. They could be.
It's silly. Anyone says it doesn't matter.
But there's all kinds of
disclaimers that are true. No, there are people that could have gotten sick from the vaccine, but it's.
But al pi roiv, we all agree it's safe, and we see al pi halacha in medicine that we go al pi roiv, that we go al pi roiv, and there's a concept of shema b'soim that we do the right thing, and the Eibishter protects us. So basically, that's what the Rebbe is saying over here. If the Roiv of the Kita is doing it, and Roiv of the Medina, the people of the Medina are doing it, and it's been approved as a safe thing, then you should do it. Then you should do it. And the emphasis today, those that are not doing it, are putting in danger the other children. It's not just that that it's their own children. They're putting in danger the other kids.
A lady
Chil Hashem is crazy. Exactly.
was expecting a baby,
Yeah.
and she got measles, and the kid was born dead.
Oh, you know.
You know, yeah.
More than that, it's just 3 women share, and don't take measles, and they all have.
Oh, no. Where did this happen? In Grand Heights?
It happened 40 years ago. More, 45 years ago.
45 years.
Yeah.
Never.
Don't get the shot measles, and you can late share, and give a little pregnant, and it's fine.
Wow.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
I'm a doctor who does vaccinations,
Yeah.
and there's no scientific link between vaccinations and autism, correct?
Right.
In fact, there were,
Scientific, autistic people.
right. So there is no, in regards to also like any outbreaks or any long-term effects with vaccinations, there is none scientifically. There's been like few, 5 articles actually prove the fact that if you don't vaccinate, your chances of getting adverse effects from diseases is obviously much higher, right? So for you not to have yourself vaccinated or your children not vaccinated is causing tremendous harm not only within our community but publicly, because now you have a stigmatism of the goyim saying to us. Right now, it's happening now.
Right.
The goyim now are talking about the Jewish people. This is what they're causing us, and so in that way.
And I'll explain further.
I have a nephew who has autism, and his mother claimed that he was fine until he got his shot.
Yeah, same with I have 2 patients that are.
But you want to know something? Even if that's true, it is possible. Just like every medicine that you take, every medication that you take, there are possible every
I want to explain to you the difference.
conceivable side effect is written on the medication. Any type of medication you take, even if it's 1 in 100,000. Why can't it be? What's wrong with saying that it's 1 in 100,000?
Okay,
The shot made him avoid his resistance. And I'm not saying that for other people should learn from it. It is possible.
Okay, so I'm going to dispute this for 1 second. Actually, two reasons why. Number one is autism can happen at any point in life. Means you cannot prove the fact that, because it happened after the shot, let's say he didn't take the shot and it happened at that time. You get what I'm saying? You can't correlate, right? You can't correlate timing of autism and the shot. Okay,
it could be a coincidence.
A coincidence, exactly. And the fact that studies prove that it's a coincidence renders the fact that taking the vaccination has nothing to do with autism. That's number one. Number two is when we deal with like side effects of medications and small percentages of medication side effects of potential medication. What happens here is we call it adverse reactions or adverse events, which is not a common side effect. Which God forbid you take a medication and you end up having God forbid, some heart problem, heart condition, which is not like a regular stomach pain or so forth. Those things are reported to the FDA, reported to the government. The government tracks that and so forth. It's a disjustice to not report adverse events. Okay. Right. That said, there is no adverse event. There is no adverse event for vaccinations. There's none that says, you take a vaccination and you're going to die from a heart attack. There's none of that reported. And I'm sure if something like that would happen, obviously the parents or the family members will report that to the government. So, in that sense,
they just think it's a coincidence.
That's what the studies say. The studies say that there is no correlation between autism, and I pull out articles for these parents who believe that their child got vaccinated. I had like 3 or 4 cases of this, and still they will go to a health store, right? These are people from Borough Park. They'll go to a health store and buy herbal stuff to go against vaccinations. And I'm trying to explain to them, think about it. Your body produces passive immunity, meaning that your body in itself has defense mechanisms. It fights regular bacteria and colds and so forth. It has that already inside. And what you're doing with these vaccinations is just triggering your immune system so that indefinitely for the rest of your life, you'll never get measles. You're protecting yourself for eternity until you.
So the body doesn't do it on its own.
No, that's what I'm saying. The vaccine actually triggers and it gives you it's dead measles being injected in your body, and your body's defense mechanisms fight against the dead measles. It's dead. It's not happening.
How do they explain though the fact that like something like autism has gone up 500%?
From the mercury.
No, yeah, but no, mercury is not. That's also
pollution.
No, because if that's the
because they put mercury in the vaccination.
Let's talk about the
if it was mercury, I'm sorry, time out. If it was mercury, then every flu shot you get would have autism, and you never notice that flu shots and mercury and autism don't link. So that disproves your theory. That's not true. Because every flu shot has mercury in it. Every flu has mercury. And you know how many people, but you never see.
The Republican was drilling the FDA to separate the mercury from the vaccination. And
you can't because that's
together.
sometimes
you could do that. They want to spend more money. The FDA doesn't want.
Yeah, but you can't.
I got the share off crap. I'm sorry. We gotta get back on the
So it's not true.
Come every week.
Okay. Let's go to the next item.
Very interesting topic.
2 questions were asked, Mamish, this week. Hello? Okay. So the question was asked. He wants to send trays of deli meat to companies he's doing business with. They're all going. There's no Yidden there. So he wants to. Why should he send expensive, kosher, expensive?
It's not allowed to deal with direct offers.
Oh, he wants to send trays. He didn't know. He's asking a question. Another person asked me a question this week.
How about Yayin Lesach?
He wants to. He says for sure they're all goyim. There's not one.
The party will be only for goyim.
Yeah, that's what he says.
How do you know they're all
goyim? Okay, I understand the question. And the other thing was, a person asked this week. Kirschenberg, that someone asked him. So he asked me that someone wants to import lard and tallow, and apparently it's a big business. He wants to import to the United States. What is the din?
One question. Why do you want to import safe meat, but it's for animal feed?
Good question.
Dog food, no?
Oh, the answer is going to be right here. Right. It's a good question. So the Pasuk in the Shulchan Aruch, look at here. Tshuva. The question base, Shaila Tshuva. Pasuk with Shulchan Aruch here, there's some Kufiyat Ayin Sefal Kol Davish also Minat Torah. Anything which is also Minat Torah, that means like
lard.
Yeah. Even though it's mutter to have an off from it. If it's made for Michael to eat, also last by schroeder, you're not allowed to make schroeder business with it. I feel like noisel achila la poil of goyim also, you're not allowed to buy it even to feed it for your goyim, because your workers, if you're going to buy them kosher food, is more expensive. So you know you have to buy them the kosher food. Chutz min achelev, besides chelev, which is tallow. It says that you're allowed to use it l'chol malacha. There's a famous taz on this that says that we see from here that even Chazal made a takona, they can't go against what the Torah says befedish. The Torah says that what should you do with the fat of the cow? You're not allowed to eat it. Make it l'chol malacha. Make candles out of it. So then the Chacham said, we don't want the Jews to have a shaykhs with the goyim. You're not allowed to do business with things that are also b'achila. But when it comes to the fat, when it comes to tallow, they couldn't make exeda because the Torah says befedish. Okay.
So also, it's not royal achila. What you make for candles is not royal achila.
Right, it's not royal achila.
The chelem is the one that is hard.
Right?
That's the chelem?
Huh? The things.
It's the chelem.
That's Ashkenazim too. It makes no difference. Look in the Shach. So there's 2 points here I want to point out. Number one in the Shach. He says, who told the Ramah this psak? You're allowed to buy treif stuff to give your workers goyim. If you want to give, if you have workers and you want to feed them treif, you're allowed to. Because of Beis Yosef, that what you're not allowed to buy is give a matona. Mishum the matona have a kamoy mech. That means like this: if you have workers You could buy for them trefa deli every day because it's half the price, no problem. But if you're sending a tray of deli, that's not your workers. This person asked me, he has suppliers. At the end of the year, he wants to give his suppliers a gift. He wants to send them a tray of deli. That's a matona. And matona is called mecher, and therefore it's also. Versteht sich, I told him he could send not meat, he could send milk products, which are chelav shechol ba'akum. Doesn't matter. It's not also in Torah. It's also in the Rabbanon. Therefore, you're allowed to.
So matala you can't do, but you can give it to work.
As a worker, yeah. Next shot.
You know what? He'll have better business with them if they eat kosher salami as opposed to the trefa stuff.
They won't drop.
They'll feel better.
It's cleaner.
They'll want to do more business with them.
You tell him it's kosher, and oh, it's so good, I'm going to come.
Cold stomach or any type of say.
Yeah, because there's a soda derabbanon, so it's no problem. It's not easy Torah. Kotzav hashach, the last paragraph on the page. Pidish cholov cholov chelov. I'm sorry, chelov shel behemet Torah. Behemet tmeya mashma das beis yosef also. When we say you're allowed to use the fat of the cow, that's only from a cow. But if it's from a different animal that's non-kosher, you're not allowed to use the. In other words, from a fat. From a pig, which is lard. You're not allowed to do business with it. It's only for human consumption. If they're using it in order to smear on the leather, for example, mutter. And also sifkot nal, if you're right. You're allowed to sell horses because horses are not there for they're not there for human food.
Right. Unless you're in Europe.
Yeah. Aval b'chazer, hakal osir. When it comes to chazer, everything is osir. Turn the page. Why is chazer osir? It's connected with this with Chanukah a little bit. Mekoyde b'gemore b'babakama ton rabbanon. Shoel shetzora ma beis chashmonoy zalzel hoye hurkinus mebefnim v'aristablos mebachutz. There was within the Chashmonoy there was a split and there was a fight, which unfortunately led to the Romans to have their foot in Israel. And Rachmana litzlan, that was the beginning of the Churban, the beginning of the end. Every day they used to send down from the walls of Yerushalayim, those on the inside, they would send down a box of coins, and they would, the ones on the outside used to give them an exchange, a carbon tomid. As long as they're doing the service of Hashem, they're never going to fall. Next day, when the people on the inside gave them the money, so when they pulled back up the box, they had like a hoist. They would give them the money, and even though, in other words, there was a siege on the city, there was like understanding, we're Jews, so you'll pay and we'll give you sheep, and no problem. But this time, because this man said, this is not a good idea, don't give them the sheep, so instead they gave them helam chazer, they gave them a pig. Even shegia lachatzi achoyme, no, it's tzipor, the b'choyme, you put in this tzipor b'choyme, v'nizdazea Eretz Yisrael, arba meyes parza, al arba meyes parza. The whole Eretz Yisrael was shaking.
Who put this?
The chazer. Boisa she'amru, oru ra'i she'gadol chazerin, v'oru ra'odam she'yilmad es b'noi chachma yavonis. Because you see, that was a corrupt type of learning. Because why did this person was the wise? He learned Chachma Yavana, so what was his advice to them? To do a cruel thing. All the Bali Musa talk about this, that bottom line is that because Jews had machloikis, so the Chazer represents Rome. So they brought the Chazer in. If the Hashmonaim king never went out to bring the Romans in, that wouldn't be the beginning of the end. The Romans wouldn't have their foothold in Eretz Yisrael. So because of this, they said, look in the Tosfos, because of the Tosfos, Vim Toimer, typically the Osel Asas Chayr B'chol Dvarim Tmeim. And they tell me a special story about Order, and he's saying, Order Ishe Gadol Chazedim. Why Chazedim? And Gemalim? What's the difference? You're allowed to. You want the llamas because the fat of the llamas are very good for this, and the skin of the llamas. No problem. No problem. But the kol chayla muter lamocher and hechad la kol achila. B'shaminam mefarij by pirke the susam v'chel b'yim shari lasem schayre b'shum stam malacha. Just a pig knot. Just a pig knot. Just a pig knot. But so the bottom line is the Maisa. If someone is asking,
Even if it's lard?
yes. So the bottom line, if it comes to doing business with tallow, it's mutter, monoshech, because unless it's for human consumption. Usually it's not for human consumption. Maybe it's for animal.
Yes, garbage.
It's not for human consumption, and you don't even know. You're bringing from Chile to New York. Usually, aldas aroiv, it's not for human consumption. So, if it's from a behemoth tehoris, for sure it's mutter. And even if it's behemoth temeis, because humans are not eating it, it's also mutter. No problem.
If it's not shechted properly, why does it matter?
Huh?
If it's a behemoth driver that wasn't shechted properly, it says treif.
No. Nevelus of treifus is different than behemoth temeis. Yeah. So nevelus of treifus is befedish. That's called chalev, because the behemoth temeis, their fat is not called chalev. But still it's mutter, because mostly in America people are not eating the tallow. They're not eating it. Even a treif, besides a chazer.
Now, why did they only say? Since the Gemara asked about chazer and not only animals. What about learning Yavonis? Didn't they already have SARS and transmounted SARS?
What's about is the show?
Yeah, because this
200 years ago.
Exactly.
What happened
So
to
then should have made it then too.
That's a funny. Yeah, I hear. It's like a funny. It's a good child.
So again, if you have a calm, safe to tell me.
It's mutter to do business as long as it's not for human consumption.
Like soap.
But it's chazer, which is
they make soap out of chazer more than they make out
right.
of
I'm saying
cows.
he cannot do business. The answer is he cannot do lard.
Yeah.
Lard is pig. Tallow is from animals. So bottom line is the pashtus you're allowed to do business with tallow, but not with lard. I said if he wants, he could like if he wants to make the money out of being a middleman, but he can't sell it. He could take like a shatchan. He made a shidduch between Reuven and Dina, so he gets a shidduch geld. So this guy could make it. There is such a thing. Next to the Sheilos. Someone asked me a Shiloh about Airbnb.
Tosser.
So he has. Now you hear the Shiloh.
Well, they're going to make an Xmas party then.
No. The Shiloh is like this. He rents out. This guy is in the Frum neighborhood. And he has 10 rooms in his building, and he does Airbnb. It's $99 a night. What was that? Airbnb is like a hotel, and anywhere in the world besides if you're a Jew in Yehuda and Shaimer. Right. Only Jews in Yehuda and Shaimer are not.
People want to start.
Arab in Yehuda and Shaimer, no problem. No problem.
It's safe because it's unsafe for the Jews.
No.
Even in Damascus, if you want to do Airbnb, and where the same place where they send
ISIS
chemical weapons on the people, but you can rent from them.
But also, you know, in Yehuda Shaimer, if you extend your kitchen, when you extend this kitchen, the whole unit goes into
right, exactly. Cardiac arrest.
Flush the toilet.
Take another one.
So this person has a simple thing. It's $99 a night. And on his website, there's a policy you can cancel up to 7 days before. Once it's 7 days before, he runs your credit card, and there's no return, no nothing. Okay. A woman rented it. Was at the time of Kinus HaShluchim. It's in Crown Heights. It was very busy. He was Baruch Hashem full. And there's a woman that was coming there, and she ordered the room for 10 days. She stayed there, and he says, I'm telling you his shaila. I'm not the dying listening to the other side. He asked me for his side. She stayed there for 3 days. She called him up at night. She said there's no hot water. He told her it's not true. No one says there's no hot water. But he says, I know that it takes a long time for the basement to get up to the 3rd floor. Run the hot water for 90 seconds. I'm telling you, call me back if there's any problems. He says he never got any phone call back. Now, this 2 months later, he gets a call from her husband, who happens to be a fancy lawyer, v'chulu, and they live in America, and he says he wants his money back. He said, there was no hot water, my wife went to a friend's house in Crown Heights, I want $1,000 back.
So they stayed there. After 3 days, she said they didn't have hot water, right?
After 3 days, she called.
So why they stayed there for almost 7 more days?
Oh no! She said she left that night.
Oh,
she said she left. She left. Okay.
She doesn't need $1,000 back.
She didn't tell him.
She wants her $300 back, but he really wants his $1,000.
He wants to keep his 1,000. She wants it all back.
Exactly.
So what's the difference?
It's $700.
No, she wants her $1,000 back. He wants the $1,000 to stay in his pocket. I'm just telling you the mitzvahs. Oh. So first of all, I don't even see what the Sheilos is. Din de Malchusa. A contract is a contract, and a deal is a deal.
Depends what the particulars
Okay,
of the contract
so, but
was.
first, before we know about Din de Malchusa,
There's a law, you can't rent the place without hot water.
Who says there was no hot water?
Right, that's what you're saying. It's
You have to read the outside.
Well, you should have gone there and checked it out and showed
One word
it.
against the other.
You should have gone there with a
Should
water
never call
truck.
him back.
yeah.
Should never call it back.
Should never call him back.
Exactly.
Right.
He could rely.
So first, I just want to do the Choshe Mishpat part of it, which is fascinating. Look in the Shaila Gimel and look in the Tshuva. So the Amor writes in Choshe Mishpat to Simashin Lamedalim. Misha Socher Bayis Loder Boy, a person that rents a house. Umeis Betur Zman Aschirus, a person passes away. Now the children are saying, we don't want to pay. Say he signed a lease for a year or 2 years, and the children say, we want to take his Yerusha, we don't want to pay for the balance of the time he's not living in the apartment anymore. We're saying that the Balabais owns the building is like a worker. The din with a worker, if I hire a worker to water my field, and all of a sudden in the middle of the day there's a rain, I can tell the worker, have a nice day, go home, and I don't have to pay him. I do have to pay him kapoil bottle. In other words, I do have to pay him a certain discounted rate, but I don't have to pay him the full amount. So the same din applies here. Okay. V'yesh cholkim. L'kei, therefore that I'm a paskin. In kibul aschar kuloi, if the owner got the whole schar and it's in his pocket, he doesn't have to return anything. What's the svaras of machloikis, and what's the idea of the halacha? So I brought it inside, but I'll tell it to you about peh because the time is short.
Is it nice to return it, or it's not even, you don't have
No, a din is a din. So bottom line is like this. This is the Rashba said. There's a case that was brought to the Rashba. A woman rented. She signed a lease for 2 years, and then after 3 months she died. So they came to the Rashba and they asked, "What's the din?" The Rashba said,
Very nice to take the kid to the mother dies, but no, we want to add to your SARS.
"Listen, that's
Nothing personal, just
Nice people, not just saying.
but sometimes the not nice people win."
Unbelievable.
So the Rashba said, simple. He said, "Schirus kemecher." The din api the Gemara says schirus kemecher. Rental and sale is the same thing. It's just that a rental is a short sale. It's not a short sale, but it's a sale for a short term. Short term. Yeah. So it's the same thing. If a person sells his house, and then the buyer 3 months later comes, "Oh, I didn't realize. If I realized that I'm going to lose my job, I can't pay no other." There's an yoitzim in a cloud. The Gemara says a person sold all his belongings, every one of his belongings, and he made it clear, al das l'meisak la'arad Yisrael. He's moving to Israel. And then it didn't work out. He can't move to Israel. So then but he said that he's selling everything because he wants to go to Israel. So he can undo the sale. It's an unusual case. Usually if a person sells one of his nechosim, he doesn't say anything. And then the buyer comes along 3 months later, no, it's a big oinus. Mama should have the money. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay? What should I do? I'll say to Hillel for you, I'll give you stock. But the Balabai says, listen, I sold you the house 3 months ago. I'm sorry. A sale's a sale. So the Rashba says, Schirus kemecher. It's finished. It's done. If it was sold for 10 days, it was sold for. You came into the house, you opened the door, you made a kinyan.
Sure.
Finish. It's yours. The other Rishonim disagree. They say that if they bring the Befedish Gemara, it's just like a pella on the. They say that it's only the Gemara says that we learn from a pasuk Lagabi the question of Ainoah that Schirus is like Memker. That when it comes to if you trick a person, so in that but Bachlal Schirus is not. And they bring a Rai Befedish Gemara with the Zora. If a kohen rents from a Yisrael behema, he's going to work in his field for 10 days. Right? A kohen is allowed to feed his behema karshine truma. The animal feed, that's a truma, is free of charge for the kohen. So just like you put fuel into your car, you got to feed the cow. So the kohen wants to use karshine truma because it's free. If he has to buy regular karshinim, whatever, you go to the gas pump, you pay $2.69 a gallon. So he wants to use the free. They say no, it's also why? Because the behemoth doesn't belong to you, it belongs to Yisrael. He says, what? By the time I give it back to Yisrael, the behemoth is going to eat another 10 times. Don't worry, the Yisrael, the last 2 days I'll give it regular karshinim. But the first 10 days, no, say it's also why? Because Schirus is not really kememke. So there's really, so basically what it comes down to is when I rent, if this woman is renting a room for 10 days, is it that she bought the room? Or is it that she makes a deal, a schus ishtamshus, in order to have the schus, I'm going to pay you. Now, if it's a schus ishtamshus, and then there's an oines gadol, there's no hot water, or there's an oines gadol, person can back out. But if it's a sale's a sale, unless it's a mekech tos. Unless it's a mekech tos. It's very hard to claim something's a mekech tos, especially when the person has the money in his pocket, and the seller has the money in his pocket, and the buyer says it's a lemon. The buyer has to bring a proof that it's a lemon.
If the talking have water, isn't it?
Now there's another 9 rooms in the building, so the guy has a lot of, and the money's on his side.
Yeah, that's,
It says in the
if
contract
it's
very clearly.
Huh?
It's reality.
It's very,
It's
very
true.
clearly in America.
What?
Airbnb, they have the agreements
Right.
are very...
So anyway, Airbnb has their contracts clear. Since it's Adina the Malchus, I have no idea what this guy is talking about. But even with Adina the Torah, so here's an interesting shaila. The Shach says that the halacha is not like the Rashba. The halacha is like the other opinion that says Sheilos is not kememkem, and therefore, if there's an oinus and the person has to leave, they have a levaya, they must leave. So then they could claim they want a refund, but not a full refund, kepoil bottle. Why?
So a proportional refund.
Why? He says because the balabayas now could use the house.
You can get more money.
He
You get money.
You can
Oh, in this case he didn't. He claims he didn't know. So even according to the Shach, if she told him, "Listen, sir, I'm trying to run it for 5 minutes. There's no hot water. I'm leaving. Bye bye." So then, according to the Shach, he would have to give a refund, kepoil bottle. You would have to figure something out. But since she didn't notify him,
She waited 2 months.
now, even if she did notify him, there's a concept of kimli. Unbelievable concept of Choshe Mishpat. Usually if you're a Svardi, you have to go with the Mechaber. You're Ashkenazi, you have to go with the Namal. Okay, I'm going to a restaurant and say it's not glatt. So Ashkenazi is allowed to eat. The Svardi is also for him to eat. Also, it's today for a Svardi. It's today for whatever. Say, no, today I want to be Ashkenazi. No. Sorry. But when it comes to Choshe Mishpat, there's unbelievable concept. I'm Ashkenazi, come to Bezin, they see that Amos says that you lost. No, I said, Kimli, today I'm a Sfardi. If the money's in my pocket, I'm allowed to say Kimli. I'm allowed to say Kimli. Kimli. Everyone agrees. Everyone agrees. This is an unbelievable golden rule in Choshe Mishpat. You have to find a legitimate opinion in your side. If you find some favor from the Rishon that's not even brought in the Shulchan Aruch, the Urim Betumim says that you can't say Kimli. I found a manuscript from the Ramban in Oxford that says that you can't say Kimli.
You can work on Shabbat.
But you could say Kimli for a bona fide opinion that's brought in the Shulchan Aruch. Say, money's in my pocket. Today I'm Sfardi. That's it, and you can't say anything. So anyway, so even this, first of all, he could say I hold like the Rashba, but even if you don't hold like the Rashba, she would have to notify that she's leaving. Anyway, the Airbnb has a contract, and the contract is a contract. Again, I just want to bring up an interesting thing since we're already in the sugya. There's an unbelievable, if a person is renting a house, and then he says, I don't want to live in the house anymore, but I'm going to pay you rent. I'm going to pay you rent. It's unbelievable din Choshe Mishpat and Simon Shinyud Beis. But it's brought in the Gemara that the owner says, no, I don't want a vacant house. It's not safe to have a vacant building. It's Beisa Misve Yose V'Shia Yukashar, which the Gemara explained 2 things. Number 1, when people live in the house, if there's a little leak or something, like Yosef says, what is that word? An ounce of prevention. There's a pound, So, the little leak, there's no tenant a whole year, who knows what's going to happen to the house. Another thing is shadim go into such a house. The base for mitzvah Yosef, the shia yukashar, shia is about shadim.
Or homeless people.
And they don't pay rent.
Exactly. Squatters, raccoons, shadim. So
Flappers, there's a lot of
squatters are worse than
shadim. They move right in.
Right, they move straight in. So therefore he has a taina. So much so there's a machlokes between the nesivos, the ktsos, and the smeh. The smeh says the balabais can double dip. You say, okay, a deal's a deal. You pay me rent for the whole year, but it can't be vacant. He gets another tenant, and he gets full rent from both. The ktsos says. But the ktsos also agrees with that. So it says, "Ein odam oises choyde beparasa shel chaveiro." This property belongs now to the person I rented. You're going to double dip? You're going to make business with it? No way. But what I want to...
and what happens if he decides he doesn't want to live there either?
He can triple it.
We'll get another guy.
But so anyway, that's the Ktsos is very logical. The Ktsos says the din is if I'm a shomer socher and I have a porter and I didn't whatever I don't want to make a shvua even though I'd be potter I don't want to make a shvua so I pay. And now
That's
they find the ganev.
That's this case.
Right now we find the ganev. And the ganev has to pay kefil. The Gemara says, even though I was a nice guy and I paid, I can't say, okay, now give me... No.
Except the chayes.
Okay, listen, I'm a nice guy, I get back the cat and I'll get back. But the kefil, the balabayas gets back. And also the
fact that the guy's not there. Let's say there are shindals or there's a leak. He's a soicher. All the hezek is his to pay. He'll have to pay it.
No, but the Balabais has the right to say, I want another tenant.
But it's not going to ruin the house.
No, the only machloikas is...
If there's ruining in the house, he gets it back.
No. It's a Gemara. He's allowed to put in another tenant. The only shaila is, could he double dip? But even the Tzos agrees, it's a Gemara, that the Balabais could say, I need to have a tenant in the house. So he just can't double charge.
So
but he could say,
I want to have... Make it the din of the machlos here.
That could, that's going against
so
the
we say it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. And what I want to say is Ayron Avodas Hashem, I think is an unbelievable thing, and Dira B'Tachtoinim. The Eibishter says, I want you to make a Dira B'Tachtoinim.
Right.
So we'll say, I want to sit in the base medrash, I don't want to have any nisyonis, I don't want to go out in the world, I want to play, I don't want to play, I want to play...
Like the shvatim.
Yeah, I want to be defensive, I don't want to play offense, defense.
Preventive defense.
Gendikt, I'm going to sit in the base medrash, in a quiet hole, I'm not going to engage the Olam Hazeh, I'm going to stay away from every nisoyin, every bezoyin, and I'm going to be in a quiet corner of the base of medrash. But the Eibishter says, I need Yidden to go all around the world. Because then if there's bitka the besa, they're going to fix it up. And if the Yidden are not going to krieg there, who are going to krieg there? Yukas Shar, the Sheidim are going to krieg there. So Mamela, a Yid can't say such a thing. A Yid has to engage the world and make the whole world a Dira B'Tachtoin.
Amen.
Amen.
It's amazing.